I know that this is possible because this is what I do. This is me, Lanni Lantto, and I've made it my mission to show people the possibilities of what happens when we reimagine the objects around us. I take tablecloths and make dresses. I mix parachutes and cast-offs to bring joy to someone again. During New York Fashion Week, 8 ethical fashion designers put on a show at Tesla Motors. My role in the show was to put together 4 pieces that represented our societal transition from petroleum to electric cars. I planned to do this by using only items that I found secondhand. No material would be off limits. And a few of them might shock you. This is the behind-the-scenes video of the redesign process and how I tell a story through the art of clothing.
So I don't know much about cars, and these pieces that I'm creating are all about the automobile industry. So I'm going to do a little research in a store to see maybe if I can use a washer, or I was looking at O-rings or I don't know, like little parts of cars that could go on a piece. So maybe if I can find out what's in a car, then I can try to find it secondhand.
I begin preparing for a show by reading historical books, finding photographic inspirations, and sometimes, very rarely, sketching designs based on my subject. Then I make a list of thrift stores and start the adventure. I love getting my materials from thrift stores because each store is a treasure hunt. Nothing is off limits, and most of the time what I find will inspire me further. You never know what you're going to find, or who. Like fellow thrifter Casey.
Today we're in downtown LA and we're looking for vintage trims and other accoutrements.
So with all of my materials in order, it's finally time to put them all together. For my first piece, I wanted to create something that was the visual representation of the Art Deco era's love of petroleum. 12 different materials were chosen based on their texture, colors, and historical significance. I begin with a base material, one item that I can build on, in this case, a blanket.
Okay, so we're going to make a cut. This is a really big deal because we only have one blanket, and once we make the cut where we marked it with the chalk, it's a one-time thing, so we'll just cross our fingers and here we go.
The blanket begins to take the shape of a cape. And here I take a tank top blouse, cut out the satin shapes, add it on to the shoulder cloak that I made from a 1940s jacket. And this fashion belt, yep, a belt, is carefully taken apart so that each piece can now be used as an accent element of the cape. I incorporated elements of the automobile industry from that era.
So on this, it says the name of the plant, which was River Rouge, that they worked at. And we believe that the first letter is saying the area that they worked in, and then the number is the employee ID number. So these are going to be great additions to put into the piece.
Using the original blouse straps, I cut off the end of a gas key and used it to clasp the cape together. I was inspired by the bodice of this dress, so I took it apart, cut a hole in the blanket for the arm to go through, and made wrist cuffs. And this dress has a story of its own to tell. It is from the movie Beautiful Creatures. However, now it is beginning its new life as the gold veins of our cape. When I saw this dress, the fabric reminded me of an oil spill. Once reshaped, I knew it would be ideal to drape down from the wrists. And this donated fabric was a perfect addition. I cut out the faces and reverse appliqued them on as hidden symbols of an old era. I crisscrossed the belt laces into an oil derrick pattern, but the piece still needed something. Luckily, one day while walking on the street, I found a door hinge, which I put on the very end of the cape, signifying a closing, the end of a frivolous era. We are now entering the age of deco. Instead of digging up the past, we are working with nature's abundant renewable resources. This piece is made from 3 objects in one futuristic design.
Today we're at the house of Marco, who's a fellow artist, and so we came up with a concept design and we're going to put it on the piece today.
Beginning with this white base dress, and after watching the movie Metropolis a dozen times, Marco and I came up with this graphic design. Marco transferred the design onto a silk screen, laid the dress out flat, applied heat, pressure, and ink, a layer of silver foil, more heat, until the final revealing.
That came badass. How you doing? My name is Marco Williams from NorthPrime.com. I'm printing for Lanni Lantto. I was most attracted to her for the ecological design of it, the ecological part. And hopefully this becomes a trend and everybody considers the fact that everything can be reused.
With still more to do, I found this metallic silver dress, which matched our silver design. I cut the silver dress in half. I also cut the white dress in half. Then, using a thrift store belt, I cut it apart and took off each individual metal section and added them on to the waistline of the newly redesigned piece. I wanted this next piece to resemble the sleek and shiny features of electricity. In need of creative advice, I found this DIY sewing group. The ladies shared suggestions on restructuring and altering my base dress to be more flattering. I was then able to turn an awkward circular hemline into sharp Art Deco style angles. Next up was this dress shawl.
Now I'm cutting each of the little bead strands out individually, and I really like this because this allows me to be able to place individual sequins along the dress.
This process turned out to be quite time-consuming, as the beads were only 3 millimeters in length and the sequin appliques needed to be put in just the right spot. And on rare occasions, I would have the luxury of viewing its evolution on someone other than myself. Angela, do you like standing in and being my unpaid model?
Yeah.
For this piece, the use of gold and not silver symbolizes that profit can be made while putting people and planet first. One of my Facebook fans sent me a few items gathering dust in her closet, one of which was this vintage jacket, which simply turned inside out became a blank canvas to add on to.
So I'm going to see if I can rework this upside down anchor, maybe, rework it so that it becomes the Tesla logo, and then perhaps think about putting it on the jacket. Well, I've never sewn through sequins before, but I think it matches up pretty well, as close as I could get a downward sequin anchor to look like the Tesla symbol anyway.
Next, using this very appropriate decal, I cut out the outline of the world, putting it under the Tesla logo. Outdated and unsellable, I rescued this tunic, took the gold clasps off, and put them on the jacket. When I found this necklace at a flea market, I knew that I wanted to take it apart, piece by piece, as they'd make perfect trimming along the hemline of the jacket. Digging through hundreds of old buckles, I found some resembling car grills to become cufflinks, and of course, no item gets wasted.
Today is gluing the necklace chain onto the belt buckle cuffs.
Everything, including the leftover chain, has a purpose in redesigning. Before the advent of electricity, wind-up clocks were a staple in automobiles. I wanted to create a mini pocket to house this pocket watch. My donated jacket came with a matching skirt, so I made one from its waistline. Remember that trip to the auto store? Well, these washers, combined with the jump ring off of these earrings, would make an ideal pocket watch chain if I had enough patience to complete it.
This is Lanni putting together an extremely tedious keychain.
So I'm walking around Brooklyn and we're looking for something to be able to prop up the mannequin piece, the cape piece, so that it displays out. And we didn't want to buy anything new, so my friend Ross and I came across this bamboo, which is up for grabs. Ooh, that's a tough step. Here we go. Timber for here. On the side of the street. So we use these as frames for the show. They're going to be thrown away anyway. If I had a car, I'd take this with me too. So it's been 2 months in the process of making these pieces. We've seen everything from going to the thrift store to sewing to walking on the streets and finding found objects and using them in the pieces. And we're finally here in New York City at the Tesla showroom We're going to show the pieces to the public.
I like giving things a second life, but I love giving them a third life. All of my leftover scraps were donated to other crafters for their own projects.
So those donations of fabrics and clothes that Lanni brought will be used for our recyclers. About every 3 or 4 months here at the Yoga Centre we have a clothes repurposing workshop, and it all gets used and then we put it all away for next time, and in between times some beautiful garments come out of the production line. And it's always wonderful to have contributions from people from their wardrobes so that all of this stuff doesn't get wasted and go in the landfill.
Even the Second Life mannequins that I used to display my pieces at the show found a new home.
These are the mannequins that we used for Sustainable Style Night, and we're donating them to FIT students. So whoever the lucky students are, come grab them.
Thank you for the mannequins.
Yeah, thank you.
Going to be used wisely.
Very well. Thanks, guys. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
And if you'd like to see more behind the scenes photos, head to my website, click on RE Collections and scroll down to Behind the Scenes. Join RE's growing community of redesigners, where you can share your own before and after photos. And if you'd like to add a redesigned or vintage piece to your wardrobe, visit my Etsy store and support the new era of Art Deco.